Hello everyone and welcome to Road to Super Bowl with Detroit Lions. They are our first team in NFC North and let's be honest, they have been injured to all hell for second straight year in a row. But I would say it would be wrong to just write that season off as like, oh, if you just stayed healthy, etc, etc. I feel like there are legitimate mistakes that this highly praised front office have made, and they are highly praised for very good reasons. They have built this crop of talent. Unfortunately, they don't have Super Bowl appearance or Super Bowl to show up for that. And whilst you are like, okay, but these guys are getting healthy and we will get them next year, it doesn't necessarily work like that with the NFL because you are hitting cap hits. And the guys that are special are starting to get expensive. Their rookie deals are passing away and now you are paying them big bucks. So even though I'm a huge admirer of Dan Campbell, I love him as a head coach, he's a great leader of a man, it does not feel like the Lions are necessarily in the best of positions. And they have definitely, in my eyes, passed their prime window of making this happen. It doesn't mean their window is closed, but it was wide open and it's starting to close. With that being said, let's take a look at what their roster looks like for the upcoming season and what it means for them in 2026. What should we expect? Now, we will start with this offensive line. And whilst I am critical of okay, let's put it this way. I feel like I do like both Christian Mahogany and Tate Ratledge, actually. I'm happy that teams are going with youth movement, and at the same time, you kind of need to when your main stars are getting expensive. At the same time, the interior should not be the position that you are like saving on, because Jared Goff is immobile. So facing interior pressure is the biggest nightmare that you can create for him. And yes, perhaps you did not expect it, Frank Regnall's retirement, and you just had to adjust, so you went with this. Like, okay, I get it. I absolutely get it. And let's be honest, like both Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany in their first and second year respectively, they did not look bad. Especially in the run game, they were menaces. But in pass protection, they had a lot of lapses. And I would say if you had a great center between them, you could live with that, even with Jared Goff. But with Graham Glasgow, instead of figuring out, it was at several games like really on display that this is exactly what you cannot make happen for Jared Goff. This dude had 34 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions, but that's a bit misleading. He only had 16 big time throws and 10 turnover worthy plays. What does this mean? To translate it to you guys. Well, it means that a lot of the work that has been done by the playmakers. And Jared had been really good distributing the ball to them. And when this guy was not facing pressure, he was freaking lethal. His passer rating is over 120 when he's not facing pressure. When he does, it dwindles tremendously. It's like 50 or something. That's really like one of the biggest, or if not the biggest difference between facing pressure and not facing pressure. It's Jared Goff. And it makes sense. He's just not mobile. And especially with this construction of offensive line, the pressure comes through the middle most often than not. And that's something he is not great at dealing with. Now, with this interior, you can hope both of these guys are going to get better. This is going to be their second full years as pros, and they have shown a ton of promise. So you can go with that. But like, I would really like some guy in front. Like, if they can get Tyler Linderbaum, that would be awesome. But I'm just worried that they just don't have money to do so. And also, like, why would Baltimore let him go? With Penei Sewell, I think you can absolutely make a case for him being the best offensive tackle in the league. You know, point blank. He is the best run blocking guy in the league. I think there should not be that too many questions. His pass protection is just great. It's not special, it's not elite, but given his age, it should definitely like be a realm of possibility of him actually coming along even in this phase towards like an elite status. He has every trait imaginable. So yeah, like this guy is freaking amazing. And with Tyler Decker, a veteran, losing a step or two, probably a guy that you are looking to replace in year or two. Still a solid franchise tackle, nothing special anymore, unfortunately. Now, in terms of playmakers, this really reminds me just Falcons on steroids in a way, because Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan, okay, Bijan is a little bit better, a little bit. Lions fans, don't be mad at me. I think Bijan is slightly better, okay? Both are elite. Can we agree on that? Both are elite, okay? Sam Laporta, much better version of Kyle Pitts. He cemented himself as a top 5 tight end in the league, in my opinion. He was really, really freaking good. He won all 7 contested catches. And to a degree, perhaps his injury was something that really pushed this team outside of the playoff contention, because that offense did not feel the same without him. And looking at this, you can kind of feel certain why I say they are kind of like Falcons on steroids a bit. You have 4 top guys and not that much depth behind this anymore. Coming for next season, because prior to this you had at least David Montgomery, who you don't have because you kind of fleeced Texans with the trade. Now with Amon-Ra, I would argue he's again slightly better version of Drake London. Not that they are necessarily the super similar guys, but they are winning and being elite or close to elite without legitimate 4-4 speed. They are not the speediest guy, and for a long time it felt like you cannot be that top dog if you are not that. No, these guys are freaking elite. They are dominant in their own ways. And then they have JMO. Again, better version of Darnell Mooney. Can JMO break out as not cute number 2, but legit number 2, perhaps some sort of T. Higgins quality? Obviously they are not playing the same role. JMO is much more of a deep threat, but they would need him to take that one little step forward. And they also have Isaac Tesla, who is very interesting case. His rookie season was kind of crazy. He had 16 catches and 6 of them were touchdowns, which is kind of unheard of and crazy. And some of them are absolutely freaking crazy. So for him, it's more can you incorporate him more into the offense? Him only having 16 catches, not that much amount of targets. He was pretty much used very sporadically. So that's definitely a call for the new OC. Now, you have this amazing group of guys. When you look at this, you kind of have everything that you need on display. If JMO can take a step forward, I think he can compete for being an elite. Jahmyr Gibbs with full workload and Isaac Tesla being more incorporated, this might be the best group of weapons that the whole league has. The depth, not necessarily there, so fingers crossed that they can stay healthy. You have Brock Wright as kind of your blocking specialist, but nothing more than that. In terms of backup tackles, there are still 2 projects that I'm kind of interested in terms of this offensive line, especially Gio Manu. We have not seen or heard of him in pretty much 2 years, and they have spent big on him. So I'm okay, this was this big project, big freak athlete. Can we start to see him more? Perhaps, is he the guy that could replace Taylor Decker in year come? Get cheaper on that position. Will it happen? At this point, a lot of evidence would suggest otherwise, but I'm intrigued. And with Miles Frazier, I was really that's a good draft pick last offseason. Perhaps they could move Taylor Ditch towards the center, which is something they experimented last year with, and put Miles Frazier in, which is kind of contra what I was saying is I kind of need better of this interior, and I'm okay, let's put another second year guy in it. At the same time, the potential of Rutledge, Mahogany, and Frazier, it's kind of through the roof. So if you feel those 2 guys are really taking big steps forward, perhaps you can take a look at Miles and replace Graham Glasnow with him. In terms of backups with wide receivers, running backs, or quarterback, I don't think they are necessarily on the roster yet. So you kind of need to fill this room out. Now, in terms of the defense, long time. There has been who is number 2 edge opposing of Agent Hutchinson. Why are you ignoring this? What is going on? And they kind of found a surprising answer this year, and that answer was Mr. Muhammad. And he came out, it was like his sixth season in NFL or something like this, age 30, journeyman veteran, nothing. And now he goes and has 12 sacks, 15% pass rush rate. Like, he was legit great number 2 guy, which also makes it very interesting. What's his market going to be like? Because Lions would really like to bring him back, but can they afford him? You can definitely not franchise tag him. He's obviously not worth that money. But like, can you compete with offers that, some teams might be like, oh, good, like 12 sacks. Let's go pay for this guy. And it was not just that, because prior to this year, he was mostly known as like a rundown specialist, the guy that's going to help you for the other guys to unleash in terms of their pass rush. This year, he was both. Like, he was legit good player. I don't have him here because I kind of don't feel like they can allow him. If they do, I think he is the guy that they should target. There is also the second area of thinking around the Lions, and that's like, let's go big. And the big is most likely the guy that is most talk, Max Crosby. But you can also feel like, okay, Trey Hendrickson is not being franchise tagged by the Bengals. How about Trey? I would argue Trey would make much more sense for where the Lions are, because he has less prime than Max Crosby ahead of him. He's going to be significantly cheaper in terms of contract, and he's going to be significantly cheaper in terms of acquiring value, because you are not having to spend draft picks to get him in. So with the situation the Lions are at, I don't think like jeopardizing their future so much by going for Max Crosby and create this like super window in which you are pretty much Super Bowl or bust, because you have invested future picks, you have like, need to push a lot of money down the line just to acquire him. I don't think that's the way to go. If they are going for much more of that, let's go and win now, but not screw our future, absolutely. I think Trey Hendrickson is absolutely perfect for it. So I would be very interested. They are a very good team in terms of run defense with Jack Campbell, Ali McNeil hopefully is going to get back. Tyreek Williams had a very good, or not very good, like quite a solid rookie, nose tackle type of season. Hutch is good. You can have Trey Hendrickson there as like a guy that's run defense is not going to be great from him, but he's going to get you a sack a game. With Aiden and hopefully Ali McNeil coming back to form, that could be the formula. So interested how they're going to figure this out. And also you can kind of argue that they kind of lucked their way into fixing edge 2 for at least a year in terms of Muhammad, because they have neglected that position, even though a lot of people were like, dude, like this is clearly your weakness. You need a guy. You cannot count on Marcus Davenport to play more than 50 steps a year. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately, for him. And this year it actually happened, but years of medical care took a toll on his game. Now, speaking of that, Ali McNeil, what an ugly season for him. He was, to a degree, especially in terms of back end of the season, kind of a liability. He was bad in run defense, no sacks, only 23 pressures, but you have to cut him some slack. He was coming from a horrendous injury, and it just feel like he's not 100% back there. With full off season, healthy, I hope we get the guy that we could legit be excited about being potentially top 10, even top 5 defensive tackle in the league. I hope so. I really want to see him back to his full form. Now, a guy that was not influenced with a major injury and did not look like suffered anyone was Aiden Hutchinson. Like, what a freaking comeback performance he did. Like, he was amazing. Like, it's kind of them missing playoffs and Myles Garrett having sack record and Will Anderson arriving on the scene as like truly an elite guy, that he a little bit flew under the radar. But make no mistake, Hutch was freaking back. And yeah, it's just so great to see that the major injury did not slow him down. And I hope that's going to be the case for another amazing player in this division, in Micah Parsons. In terms of the linebackers, another decision that they are facing, and that's do you bring Alex Anzalone back? Because he's another guy that kind of embodies you to Detroit right now. The culture that Dan Campbell brought here. He's the deep captain, and they want to take care of their own. He's kind of their poster boy in several, with this long hair and and kind of embodying this even the tough culture. But at the same time, if you look at this from a long-term perspective and just trying to utilize more years of that window, he would be the type of a player that you kind of make that hard decision that perhaps Seattle is going to do on Tariq Woolen. Yes, we would love to have him back. At the same time, we cannot re-sign everybody. We are paying our top guys a lot of money. We need to save somewhere, and that would be the case for Alexander Anzalone. With Detroit, I kind of don't see them not bringing him back. Like, he just feels like they will do it, even though it might not be the smartest move. Next to him, you have Jack freaking Campbell. What a year for Jack. I would not, there's always like people are, can you run 1 yard against, like in the NFL? And you are looking like, I would not want to run against like Des Lawrence. And then I usually like, okay, what if we just don't put defensive line out there? And, just linebackers. I would not want to run against Jack Campbell. This dude is freaking menace. He's physical, yeah, of course. He's fast, of course. But he has it here. He understands like where to go, when to trigger, when to like wait for the block unravels. Like he essentially can play this position from the eyes of running back, knowing where he gets his lanes, where they will open. So this is like really cool matchup that you can see, and most often than not, Jack Campbell comes on top. He is really special run defender. Coverage, he's not the speediest guy. You can take some advantage of this, though they are doing a really good work trying to protect the most vulnerable points for him. But dude, like freaking special, like Fred Warner, yes, that's number one guy. Then like there is plethora of guys, and within that group, I think you have to talk about Jack Campbell as one of the best linebackers in the game. And how wrong were we on criticizing this pick a couple of years back? But speaking of guys getting quite pricey, Jack is. Now, the secondary, here's where you've definitely seen the injuries taking the most tools. Like Brian Branch missed several games. Kirby, Terrion, like there was a lot of guys missing from this. It took a lot of like unexpected names, whether it was veterans or even some young guys, to emerge and actually playing like solidly. Like York Racine, Amik Robertson was not playing bad, and they also find Thomas Harper, guy drafted by, like he was undrafted or some sort of involvement with the Raiders. He was playing solid for them. He was legit playing good for the Lions last season in the absence of Kirby and Brian. Then he got injured because yes, that's what happens to members of Lions secondary. But I feel like there is a legit look on this position when it's like, okay, wouldn't it make much more sense if we move Brian Branch back to slot where I think he's at his best? Kirby and Thomas playing safeties, and DJ Reed is our primary outside corner, and hopefully Terrion comes and plays better than he's so far been in 2 years. Yes, I would say right now that's the best solution you have for this, and barring like major investment in this area, this is what you do. What should you do? Now, speaking of major investments, how about Jamal Dean? You already like snag up one corner from the Buccaneers to like a year prior in Carlton Davis. It kind of worked like semi-optimally, but Jamal Dean, like the way that he's slipping under some radars I'm describing, perhaps there is a way to bring him in on reasonable contract, and that would actually create damn good secondary. Right now, you can argue that I'm perhaps a little bit too low on Brian Branch. I just feel like as a more traditional safety, he's not been excellent. When he was in the slot, he was, in my eyes, absolutely an elite player. So I just have him ranked as just amazing. Like I'm such a hater. But I'm like also higher on DJ Reed than I would say general public. I felt like he had a reasonably good year, like obviously nothing special, but at the same time, when you consider that for most of the time he was playing with like every game pretty much, or like half of the game there was another guy opposite to him, and you need to adjust and be kind of veteran for that. First year in, I think he was solid, man. So like really good secondary. Questions on the outside for sure. And how do you like move your safeties? Do you use Thomas as just a third and backup option, or do you have a plan of putting Brian Branch more full time in the slot back again, where I think he was at his best? And what's the future of Terrion Arnold, because they invested in him first round and so far it has not paid back. Do they still trust that he can be an outside corner for them? Or do they make another major investment into this area? And in terms of backups, I have Akbarin Muhammad like secretly here because I'm like, he really feels like a lion. Also, like a really nice story, etc. But stop it. Oh, sorry guys, my cat tries to assassinate lights here. Okay, Roy Lopez was also like a really nice veteran option for them. I hope these two guys are back with the team on team-friendly deals. So they, otherwise, I don't think they can necessarily afford them. Speaking of team-friendly deals, I think that's not Derek Barnes' case. He's a useful player, but overpaid in my opinion. And unfortunately for them, pretty much this season is guaranteed, so you cannot get out of it. The question is, would they? Because they really like Derek. I'm lower on him, I would say, than both Lions media and Lions coaching staff. And then his second straw, pretty much, he's, I think, from the same draft as Terrion Arnold, and we have so far have seen pretty much none of him. So yes, this team is freaking talented, and you can feel like, okay, if we just stay healthy. I mean, even healthy, this team does have some question, does have some holes. It's that interior O-line, it's the number 2 edge. Will Ali McNeil, what is Ali McNeil going to be? Because last year he played like a decent starter at best. It was really not pretty. Do they trust their outside corners? Like, is the DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold like good enough to take you to the Super Bowl? So there are legit questions for this roster, even when healthy. At the same time, you cannot just not wish it to Lions. They are such a likable team, at least from my perspective. As a Seahawks fan, outside looking in, I really like the culture. I like most of the players really a lot. I don't have anything against any of their players, so I just wish them the very best. Let me know, Lions fans, how do you feel about this offseason? Who you should be targeted? Will Al-Quadin Mohammed be back with you guys? And see you with the next one.